Today, I will introduce to you an action, thrilling, and mysterious movie from 2011 called Source Code. A train is heading towards Chicago. Captain Colter Stevens, a military pilot, wakes up on the train and is confused, not knowing where he is. Christina starts talking to him and calls him Sean. Colter looks around the train, distracted by every movement, to the point where he doesn't respond when the conductor asks him about his ticket. Colter also seems confused by Christina when she tries to help him find his ticket. She asks him why he is acting so strangely, but Colter answers that he doesn't know who she is. He stands up and steps outside for a while, trying to figure out where he is, but then returns to his seat next to Christina. Suddenly, he sees his reflection through the window, but it's a different face. Colter goes into the bathroom and looks into the mirror, seeing a completely different person. He opens his wallet and sees this person appearing in it. Christina is waiting for him outside the bathroom. Colter tells her that he doesn't know Sean and doesn't know who she is either. At that moment, the train explodes. Colter wakes up in a different place, hearing a woman's voice talking. The voice explains that he is in a program called Source Code, and asks him if he is functioning normally. Colter is still confused and unable to answer any of the questions the voice asks. The voice just wants to know what happened on the train and the origin of the explosion. Colter asks her who she is, and she appears on the screen in front of him, saying that he already knows her. She says they will recreate his memory model and start a memory recovery process. The woman reads a passage to him, while illustrations appear on the screen. Colter is not paying attention and tries to escape from the seat, while the woman continues with the memory recovery exercises. Suddenly, he recalls some parts of the exercise and repeats what he had heard earlier. She asks her name, and Colter calls her Goodwin. Dr. Rutledge briefly appears on the screen, checking some things, then Colter asks to speak with his father. Goodwin interrupts him and continues asking about the bomb on the train. She says that Christina calling him a different name was just a coincidence. Colter doesn't know who placed the bomb on the train, so Goodwin informs him that he will have to go back in another 8 minutes. Colter thinks he's in a simulation, but Goodwin does not provide any information about his condition. She only emphasizes that he needs to find out more information about the train, locate the bomb, and find the bomber. Colter appears on the train again. Christina tells him that she has resigned and will take the LSAT. He hears a soda can opening and a woman spilling coffee on his shoes. Colter says this is the same train, but something feels different. Christina understands that this is a profound comment. He activates a stopwatch and says everything feels too real, still believing he's in a simulation. Colter looks around the train for any sign pointing to the bomber. He rushes toward a man and asks him about the train's delay. The man was annoyed, and Christina told him that Colter was a humorous person. He continues to scan the train, looking for something unusual, and sees a student returning a wallet to someone. Colter steps back on the train and remembers that the explosion came from behind him. He enters the restroom and inspects carefully, realizing the vent has been tampered with. Colter opens the vent and finally finds the bomb. He begins talking to Goodwin, thinking she can hear him and will guide him on the next steps with the bomb. However, Colter leaves the bomb as it is and comes up with another idea to find the bomber. He returns to the train car and lies to everyone, saying he's a traffic security officer. He announces a security incident and asks everyone to stop using electronic devices. No one truly believes him, and when he sees a man still using a laptop, Colter shuts it down and even breaks his jaw. Christina rushed to help the man, while Colter was still reminding the others. Immediately afterward, the train explodes, and Colter returns to the control center. Goodwin asks Colter to stabilize and lower his heart rate. She asks if he has found the bomb, and he confirms that he has. But Colter requests to speak with Dr. Rutledge, as he has realized that Rutledge is Goodwin's superior. Colter thinks he was just in Afghanistan 2 days ago. However, Goodwin informs him that 2 months have passed. Still confused, Colter answers Goodwin's questions about the train. Goodwin tells Colter that this is not a simulation. Real lives are at risk. Colter wants to know more information before continuing the mission. Goodwin asked Rutledge's permission to reveal more, and Rutledge agreed. She tells Colter that the train he is on exploded earlier that morning, and many similar attacks are being planned. Sean Fentress is the person who was on the train, and now Colter is inhabiting him. Colter still doesn't understand what's happening, but Goodwin keeps pressing him for more information. Colter tells her where he found the bomb and the type of detonator it used. Goodwin explains that the explosion was planned to occur at the exact moment a freight train passes by, causing both trains to be engulfed in the blast. The bomber must have been close enough to know when the 2 trains would meet in order to trigger the explosion. Goodwin asks Colter to focus on the passengers on the train and only carry out the tasks she has assigned. They send Colter back to the train. Colter wakes up right in the middle of the familiar conversation. The woman spilled coffee on Christina's shoes, and she handled the situation very politely, which Colter found endearing. At this point, he begins to believe that she is a real person. Colter asks the ticket inspector about the behavior of the passengers on the train, but he was the one acting strange. Then, Coulter turns to Christina and asks if she notices anyone who looks suspicious. He tells her to sit next to him and treat it like a game. Christina joked about everyone on the train and didn't really take what he said seriously. She even comments that Coulter seems to know more about people than she does because he's always talking to them. Suddenly, Coulter notices a man stepping out of the bathroom. Christina remarks that they are discriminating based on race. She also says that he's the only one she's ever seen come out of the bathroom. This makes Coulter think. Coulter rummages through Sean's belongings but only finds Christina's name in the notebook. He decides to follow the man he just saw and drags Christina along. Coulter tells her to wait outside the station while he follows the man into the bathroom. Coulter saw this person's luggage in front of a cabin and started observing it, which made the other person extremely uncomfortable. The man leaves the bathroom, and Coulter follows him. He sits on a bench next to the man and asks to borrow his phone. The man tells Coulter to leave him alone and walks away. Coulter attacks him, repeatedly demanding to see his phone. Suddenly, the bomb explodes, and Coulter thinks that this man might be the bomber. The man pushes Coulter onto the tracks, and he doesn't manage to get up in time before being struck by an oncoming train. Coulter wakes up elsewhere, but this time he doesn't hear the voice from Beleaguered Castle and no one can contact him. The place he is in becomes freezing cold and begins to malfunction. Goodwin's colleague reports that Coulter is facing a serious issue. Both rush to find Rutledge. Rutledge says that no one has ever been in a situation like Coulter's before. They need to continue sending signals to see if he responds. Meanwhile, Coulter finds a toolkit and restarts the system where he is. He began to hear distorted sounds. As Rutledge sat down at Goodwin's computer, Coulter heard her read a familiar passage to him. Coulter calls her name, and Rutledge, who was about to leave, stops to talk to him. Rutledge says that he is the inventor of the system Coulter is inside, and confirms that he is the head of the project. When Coulter says he saved a passenger from the train, Goodwin returns and continues the conversation. She explains that saving someone on the train is outside his mission. Coulter insists that the woman survived, but Rutledge explains that she only survived in source code. When Coulter asks what that means, Rutledge tries to simplify the concept for him. Source code is not a time travel machine, but rather a system for reallocating time. He can only go back there and report what he saw, in a parallel reality, through the eyes of Sean Fentress, who serves as his link. Coulter still insists that he saved someone, so Goodwin asks for her name and looks up the information online. Finally, Goodwin announced that Christina had died that morning on the train. Coulter still doesn't fully understand what's happening. However, they need to send him back again because a second attack is suspected to be imminent. The military believes that if Coulter can identify the bomber on the train, he can prevent the second attack. Before sending Coulter back, Goodwin tells him about a handgun that he can find on the train. When Coulter wakes up on the train, he is disappointed to see that Christina is still sitting there. They chat for a bit, and it's clear that Coulter is slowly developing feelings for her. However, Coulter still has to focus on his mission. He began searching for the gun. Eventually, he finds it exactly where Goodwin had directed him. Unfortunately, the conductor catches Coulter while he's opening the safe. He points the gun at the conductor, but another conductor uses a stun gun to knock Coulter unconscious. Coulter wakes up on the train once again, and he sees Christina sitting next to him, asking what he's doing. He doesn't know how to answer, but he knows his time is running out. Coulter asks Christina what she would do if she only had 1 minute to live. Coulter says that if it were him, he would call his father and apologize. Christina reassures him that everything will be okay, before the bomb on the train explodes once again. Before waking up, Coulter saw an image of Christina. He tells Goodwin that the gun is not a good idea and that he wants to talk to his father. Goodwin dismisses this, saying she will try to arrange that. Coulter asks her about his condition, as he doesn't fully understand how the process works. Goodwin steps back and shows him where he's being held. She explains that she has never been directly involved in the other side of source code because the standards for selecting viable candidates are extremely strict. Goodwin doesn't want to waste any more time. After reassuring Coulter that he's doing well, she sends him back to check the passenger's belongings. Coulter returns to the train and starts acting more quickly. He redraws the military insignia that Goodwin had shown him. As Christina approaches, Coulter asks her to help find information about a friend who went missing in Afghanistan and gives her his real name for the search. Suddenly, Coulter becomes suspicious of a man on the phone. He moves closer and searches the man's pockets for something. Then, Coulter notices a woman with a bag from the military medical center. He approaches her and asks about the symbols on the insignia. The woman says that it's the symbol of the Air Force, and the last letter represents Nellis Air Force Base. Coulter borrows her phone and calls Nellis Air Force Base. He requested to speak with Rutledge and said that Captain Coulter Stevens was calling for him. Christina finds him and informs him that the friend he asked her to search for was killed in action 2 months ago. At that moment, Coulter recalls some memories from his time in Afghanistan and hears Goodwin's voice guiding him through memory exercises. When Coulter wakes up in the other place, he immediately asks Goodwin if he's dead. He says he found an online article stating that he had died and that his father had received a medal on his behalf. Goodwin tells him to focus on the mission on the train and that everything else is irrelevant. Coulter insists on knowing the truth, and Goodwin finally reveals part of it. She said that part of his brain was still functioning, but his body was now just a form of manifestation. Coulter asks if he's imagining being in the control chamber, and the place begins to collapse. Goodwin confirms that the control chamber is also just a projection and refuses to tell him where his actual body is being kept. Rutledge interjects, asserting that they need to send Coulter back to the train to prevent another attack. Coulter still disagrees with how source code works. He tells Rutledge that he called him from the train that morning. Rutledge replies that he didn't receive any call, and if he had it would have been from a different reality. The Rutledge in that reality would be a completely different Rutledge. Coulter needs more clarification. Rutledge explains that the project has been approved by the military court. He further adds that many soldiers would view this as a valuable opportunity rather than death, as it allows them to continue serving their country. Coulter replies that for many soldiers, one sacrifice is enough to fulfill their duty. Rutledge promises that he will allow Coulter to die if he completes the mission. Before sending Coulter back to the train, Rutledge emphasizes that 2 million Americans are depending on the success of this mission. If Coulter doesn't value his own life, he should at least respect the lives of others. Rutledge then continues to send Coulter back to the train again and again without allowing him rest. He tells Coulter that they will keep doing this until he finds the bomber. Coulter says he can't go on, but Rutledge manipulates his emotions using a recording. In the recording, Coulter's father expresses regret that they never truly understood each other before Coulter sacrificed himself. Moved, Coulter tells Rutledge to send him back. When Coulter returns to the train, he immediately searches for the gun and heads straight to the bomb's location. He takes the remote control phone out of the bomb and calls the only number in its call log. A man answers as Coulter moves through the train cars. He tells the man to turn back, but the man in front of Coulter hears him and turns around. Coulter sat next to the man, pointing a gun at him threateningly, saying that he couldn't kill anyone. The man swore that he was just talking to his wife, but Coulter called the number back to verify. Suddenly, another phone rings. Coulter apologized to him, and he heard a sound coming from the phone outside. Coulter follows the trail and sees the man place his wallet back on the train. Eventually, he learns his name, Derek Frost. As the train doors close, Coulter opens the emergency exit and jumps out to chase him. He sees Derek get into a white van and moves closer to him. Coulter shows Derek the phone, but Derek pretends not to recognize it. Coulter knows it's him, so he shows him the second bomb inside the van. He checks the bomb and asks Derek about his next target. At that moment, Christina appears, and Derek shoots both of them. Coulter is still alive, but Derek begins delivering a speech about why he is doing this. Derek explains that the world is a hell, and in order to rebuild it, it must first be destroyed. After that, Derek gets in the van and leaves Coulter and Christina behind. The bomb on the train explodes. When Coulter returns to the control room, he sees the previous images more clearly than before. Immediately, he reports to Goodwin and Rutledge about the bomber and the van he used. He confirms that the second bomb is a radioactive bomb. Rutledge and Goodwin congratulate Coulter and declare that his mission is complete. Before they leave, Coulter asks to go back once more to try to save the people on the train before he truly dies. Meanwhile, the military captures Derek Frost before he can detonate the second bomb. Rutledge receives approval from his superiors for his project, while Goodwin returns to talk to Coulter. Coulter mentions the possibility of parallel realities and different versions of people. Goodwin explains that what he saw on the train is just a shadow, or a remnant of the people who are dead. She emphasizes that he cannot change the past. But Coulter insists that he discovered a safety mechanism on the bomb that he hadn't seen before, and Goodwin was wrong. Coulter begs her to send him back one last time, without Rutledge's approval, and then end his life. Goodwin hesitates but finally agrees. She promises that when the source code ends, she will disconnect his life support. Before leaving, Coulter pledges to save Christina. Goodwin says it is an honor to work with him and wishes him good luck. Coulter returns to the train for the last time. He invites Christina for a coffee, and she happily agrees. Coulter asks her to give him a few minutes to save the world. Immediately, he moves toward the bomb and disarms both detonators. Then, he glides past Derek, stealing the ticket agent's handcuffs. As Coulter carried out his mission, Rutledge continued to receive praise from his superiors. He instructed Goodwin to erase Coulter's memory and prepare him for a new mission. Rutledge had no intention of letting Coulter die, though Goodwin disagreed with this. Back on the train, Coulter stopped Derek from leaving and handcuffed him to the railing. He took Derek's phone, called the police, and revealed all information about him, including the radioactive bomb in the van. Then, Coulter took Derek's phone and left. He sent an email to Goodwin from that phone and then called his father. Coulter told his father that he was his friend and, before he passed away, just wanted to say sorry. Meanwhile, Goodwin arrived at the facility holding Coulter's body, opened the containment chamber and saw his tragic condition. Coulter's father choked up, saying that he wished he had said "I love you" when he had the chance. Coulter responded that he knew that. Back on the train, Coulter went to find Christina. At the same time, Rutledge received the news that Goodwin was in Coulter's containment chamber. He ordered military police, MPs, to be deployed while attempting to open the chamber door. Goodwin, defying orders, waited for Coulter's final 8 minutes to run out. On the train, Coulter asked Christina what she would do if she had less than a minute to live. Christina replied that she would make every second count. Coulter responded by kissing her. As the clock ticked down to the last second, Goodwin turned off Coulter's life support. The MPs burst in only to find that Coulter's body was no longer alive. Back on the train, the unexpected happened. The explosion didn't occur. Coulter looked at Christina and assured her that everything would be fine. They walked together to the Chicago Bean, where Coulter realized that the images he had seen during his transitions were the moments of this very time. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss exciting videos like this one. Thank you for watching.